in Detroit and WDET. It is a part of Kresge Arts in Detroit's mission to advance and showcase the work of Kresge Artist Fellows and Gilda Awardees. It provides a space for growth, discovery, and furthers the connection between Kresge artists and the wider arts community. I am Ebony Jones, program producer for Kresge Arts in Detroit. My pronouns are she and her. Though we're centering today's conversations around the artists, we do invite you to introduce yourselves by dropping your name, pronouns, and a bit about yourself into the chat. Today's Artist Salon will feature artists Anna Gavrilovska and Donovan Tobert. ASL will be provided for the duration of this event by Billy Sanders and Jamie Holloway. I want to thank Kresge Arts in Detroit staff for their support of this program and to acknowledge Andrea Yilipoti, who is the founder of Wild Projects and a huge component to the production of this event. Andrea will be providing tech support today, so if you come across any tech issues, please chat with her directly. Andrea is also recording this session to be shared on Kresge Arts in Detroit in the very near future. Without further ado, I am proud to introduce you to our moderator for this afternoon, Ryan Patrick Hooper. He is the award-winning host and producer of Culture Shift on 1019 WDET FM, Detroit's NPR station. I am handing it over to you now, Ryan.
Thank you so much for that very warm welcome. I've been looking forward to this one all day. So thanks to everyone that is joining us. These salons have been fantastic so far. So I'm glad you'll be able to experience them today. There's also information in the chat about some of our other salons that we'll be doing in the future. We've got quite a few more to go. So if you enjoy this one, definitely join us again for another one. I hope some of you have listened to Culture Shift on WDET. You can stream it at the website live at WDET.org. It's on weekdays 12 to 2. We've really tried to turn it into a hub for conversations about arts, culture, music, our lives here in Metro Detroit. And that really feels like it's aligned with the kind of platform that the Kresge Arts in Detroit is trying to give to these artists that have received some of the most prestigious fellows really in the country. They're right here. So I'm excited to showcase in advance some of our 2021 Kresge Artist Fellows and Gilda Awardees and their creative practices. Both of our writers today are Gilda Awardees, and we'll talk a little bit more about what that means. So for each artist today, we're going to be able to watch a video of their practice that they made for us. I've really enjoyed these because they do set the table of who you're about to get to know. And then we'll have a conversation kind of around that video and dive a little deeper into some of the things that were brought up. If you are experiencing issues with your Zoom connection and the video isn't coming through for you, Andrea will also drop a link in the chat where you can view the video on your own at the same time it's playing via the Zoom, so you won't be left behind. If any questions come to mind during the presentation, please feel free to drop them in the chat. The coolest thing about this salon has been the questions from the patrons that are here today. You can really guide the conversation. I would love to include your questions. So please drop those in the chat as they come into your mind. And I promise we will get them asked of the writers and artists that we're joined with today. So it's going to be a really good time. Donovan Tobert will be coming up in a few minutes. But right now, I do want to start with Anna Gavrilovska. We're very excited to have her, and we've been practicing her name all day. So hopefully we did it justice. Anna, welcome to the Kresge Artist Salon.
Hi, Ryan, and everyone here. Thank you so much, and definitely appreciate your hard work with my name. Definitely nailed it. So thank you for that.
So we're gonna watch your video here in a second, but please, if you were to introduce yourself and your practice, what you're kind of focused on, go ahead, and then we'll jump into your video presentation.
Cool. Just really quick. So I am a writer, as is mentioned, and I focus on music primarily, but I also do arts writing as well. Jazz is my main interest, but I do a lot of different kind of eclectic music and all different kinds of writing around music. It started as music journalism, kind of expanded into smaller pieces, bigger pieces. I talked about liner notes that I wrote in my video. And one final thing I want to say, I have a correction to make because I got the year wrong in something in my video. I said that a concert took place in 2016 and it actually took place in 2017. So I just wanted to correct myself before we got into it.
Luckily, a very minor correction, but we do get the attention to detail. Let's go ahead and learn more about Anna with this video presentation, and then we'll ask her some questions right after this.
Hi, my name is Anna Gavrilovska, and I'm an arts writer, mainly about music. I've been published in a small but steady variety of places since 2016, including the Detroit Metro Times and the quarterly print magazine Maggot Brain, published by Third Man Records. Jazz is one of my favorite subjects, particularly Detroit jazz, and even more specifically, the fiercely creative independent scene that thrived here in the 70s and into the 80s. For my artist Salon, I decided to focus on the research element of my writing process. The bulk of this work largely happens in 3 places: researching at the computer, reading or watching primary materials when possible, and conducting interviews. I did all 3 of these things for the piece I'm going to discuss today, the liner notes to the album Kins, which is what we're listening to, a brilliant work of creative jazz by the Detroit band Gabriellovska. The original album was released in 1982, and to the dismay of everyone, most of the copies were lost in a basement flood. A very Michigan thing to happen. Originals have been prize finds for collectors, but Third Man Records stepped in to reissue this fantastic album a few years ago. And I was lucky enough to be asked to write the liner notes as an expansion of a piece that I wrote about the band for the Detroit Metro Times back in 2016 when they reunited live for the first time in decades for that summer's Concert of Colors. The original band was led by the visionary saxophonist and composer Kresge Arts, who died in 2012 at the age of 70. May he rest in peace and power. For this work, I was able to interview everyone else who played on the record as well as the producer. To represent the 3 main pillars of the research process that goes into my writing, I'll be reading from a few sets of materials as well as a short segment of the liner notes themselves. And I will start with those. Kins, recorded in 1981 and originally released in 1982, is a masterstroke of creative Detroit jazz. The freeness of the playing is anchored by a serious propensity for rhythm, evident in the way its members layered their collective backgrounds in bebop, funk, reggae, and other styles within the expansive possibility of sonic expression. Gabriellovska's willingness to push boundaries was as affectionate as it was fearless. Kins is Detroit's post-Coltrane, high on Sun Ra bridge into the 80s, and all but 200 or so copies of the original 2000 press were unintentionally trashed. But let's back up a little bit. Gabriellovska doesn't strictly begin with Kins. It begins with visionary bandleader and saxophonist Kresge Arts' musical and political awakening in the late 60s, when the 1967 Detroit Rebellion was tearing Detroit apart and Coltrane's untimely death was devastating the jazz community. Prior to Gabriellovska, Bay explored his artistic interest with many musicians in a variety of settings. Informed by poetry and language, philosophy and spirituality, particularly that of Islam, Black nationalism, and intense intellectual studies, his work existed at the meeting place of culture, tradition, and emerging forms of expression, all within the political context of Detroit in the 70s. One of the ways that I was able to learn more about Kresge Arts was from an excellent profile in the Metro Times that was written by the Kresge Foundation's own W. Kim Herron back in 2003. I accessed this piece online, and I encourage anyone with any interest in this period of jazz, as well as great profiles, to seek this piece out. This is just one short paragraph from the piece. Within a few years, Jesse Davis would have new names. he would become Malik Sibey, then Farouk Sibey. His marriage would dissolve, as would two more during the 70s. He'd become part of an artistic, spiritualistic, Pan-African political milieu. He'd eventually become a sort of poster boy for that set. He'd read his poetry to rapt listeners, pontificate on the meaning of life and culture, play in more bands and jams than anyone can be expected to keep track of. He'd impress a lot of folks as brilliant and charismatic. He'd attract talent like a magnet. He'd garner a rep as a ladies' man. He'd live wildly, nearly die, watch much of what he worked for unravel, and slowly recover. One of the tragedies of the Griot Galaxy story is that after Kins came out in 1982, and then another album, Opus Krampus, in the fall of 1984, Farouk Sibey had a hellish motorcycle accident that landed him in a coma for some weeks. He had a closed head injury, and it certainly ended the band at that time. But miraculously, he was able to recover, and he was able to relearn everything, and he continued to go on and record and perform and leave behind a tremendous legacy of music up until his death. But Griot Galaxy as a band, they couldn't maintain, and they effectively were over by the time the 90s came around. So one of the pieces of primary materials that I was able to consult for this piece is Nostalgia for the Present, an anthology of writings from Detroit that I was very happy to be able to borrow from Warren DeFever of His Name is Alive, who actually released an album with Farouk called Silver Dragons, which I encourage everyone to go check out. It's really great. So one of the pieces in this anthology is called From the Jesse Davis Medical Fund by Sadiq Muhammad, and it is a fictionalized account of the accident. And the segment that I'd like to read is as follows. One day, Jesse called me at my job from Harper Hospital. He had cheer in his voice. He was feeling fine. Osiris had returned from the dead. He had cheer in his words, laughing and joking like before. But there were no tears of joy that wet the rims of my eyes. A sad confusion best describes the feeling. The rigor and intensity of traveling through the underworld carried its triumphs and disappointments. The Boat of Osiris, although armored with truth, powered by justice, and guided by knowledge, sustains its casualties. It is said that Osiris becomes Ra, the sun, upon leaving the underworld and rising peacefully in the east from the tumultuous season of polarity. Ra is hiding something on a cloudy day. And what of rain? How sad Ra must be. Healing has its own power, however, and the scales seem tilted in Jesse's favor. I'd like to close with a segment from my interview with Jaribu Shahid, the brilliant bassist of Griot Galaxy, who was entrusted with all of the sheet music and was instrumental in the contemporary reunion. He performed with Sun Ra back in the day and has performed with the Art Ensemble of Chicago in recent years, among numerous local projects. So, to set up what his answer is referring to, the Griot Galaxy lineup was more fluid toward the beginning of the band's existence, expanding and contracting as needed. When drummer Tani Tabal came to town, that was when the band began to form into the lineup that would go on to record Kins. Shahid told me about this. The main point was when Tani came to Detroit, because he already had the skills one would need. He had played with Sun Ra and Phil Karan, so that's why he had those odd meters and multiple meters going on. He was already an established bebop drummer, so all the regular stuff he could play. We got tight as a rhythm section because we played with a lot of different people together, like Kenny Cox and just about anybody else around town. Playing all that other stuff really helped us gel, so that when we played so-called outside music, it still made sense. I then asked him whether experimenting with larger bands that included more people, if that also helped their ability to create outside music that still made sense. And he responded, "It did, but I'm emphasizing the foundation of it and the way it related to other music. If you listen to Sun Ra, it's different from a lot of the European avant-garde in the sense that it's still connected to jazz. Our influences and Farouk's influences, other than his own concepts, were probably the AACM and Sun Ra. So the driving force behind the concept of the band was obviously Farouk and his compositions, but it became possible to realize this stuff when I developed somewhat and we got tiny. That's when the roof really just said, okay, now we can go. Well, that is just a tiny bit of what goes into at least one writer's work. Thank you so much for listening, and you can read the liner notes at the Kresge website, as well as if you buy one of the records, which I think you should. Thanks again. This is Anna.
Anna, great work with that video. Really appreciate you bringing that to the table. Already got a good question coming into the chat here. We're going to get to that in a second. But I do want to talk about something that really resonated with me from watching that video, is how serious and thoughtful you are about your approach to research, which I think is an important skill for any writer. Can you tell me a little bit about how you've gone about developing your tools for research, or sort of your methodology of how you like to go about researching a piece?
Sure. So essentially, I try to find as much as I can that's already been written, which in some cases, like if you're talking about John Coltrane, for example, that could be endless. But in the case of something like Gabriellovska, which is a small niche group from the city, it was much easier to read as much as I could find about it, just because there's not that much of it in the first place. But yeah, like on a broad scale, and like with other times where I've interviewed musicians, like to prepare to interview them, I read as many other interviews as I can find. And obviously there's lots of books about different genres, the histories of genres. So reading those where you can. And there is another element, which is documentaries, which is not something that I consult as much, but it's definitely another angle to it.
So I'm curious, and this is kind of building up to a little bit of a thread that we'll build in this conversation here, but going back to when Gabriellovska was active, were you finding materials that had been written by, let's say, like major media outlets? Was the Detroit News or the Detroit Free Press covering this group? Or were you not seeing a lot of coverage even in the heyday of the band here in Detroit?
I didn't personally come across anything, but that doesn't mean that it wasn't there. I know there's like some stuff that I've seen in like some of Ann Arbor's papers, and there were things. So like I know the Metro Times, there's some concert of theirs that's on YouTube that Gabriellovska performed. So like the smaller papers definitely were, but I'm not sure if the bigger ones were. That doesn't mean they weren't there, but yeah.
Sure. I asked that question because I'm curious how much of the idea of cultural preservation goes into your work, of making sure that these stories don't get lost in time. Is that a primary focus for you to kind of, it's almost it's in the title of the group, be a griot, make sure that these things are extended to the next generation?
Yeah, definitely. That's definitely something. And that's also why it's really important to talk to people who are still alive, because it's like we're just going to lose people to time, just like time passing. So obviously Farouk died back in 2012. So, and there's he's given lots of interviews and different things. So like a lot of his story is preserved in those interviews, but I just feel grateful to be able to capture a little bit of the stories from being able to talk to people who are still here.
We've learned a lot about your process already and maybe some of the motivation, but I'd love to hear a little bit more about you and how you really became so focused on wanting to write about music at all to begin with, and then how jazz kind of became a primary focus. So what was that sort of gateway drug for you to even get into music writing at all?
So I thought you might ask that, and I feel like I feel like my answer is not entirely satisfying because I really stumbled into it. Because I love writing, the act of writing. I always say like I've done it my whole life because I wrote stories as a child and just like different things like that. And I loved fiction, and I didn't think that I would be able to do that like as a career or even as like I never thought I would get fiction published anywhere, but I've always just written about different things. And I wrote some things for a blog that my friends had started a long time ago, like a culture blog, and it wasn't a, much of a line to what I do now, but there was one thing about sad music that I wrote, and that was probably the first. I think it was something like underrated sad albums, and that was maybe the first music related thing I ever wrote. And then I had a friend. Well, I still have a friend. He runs the label X Records, and a small, weird Detroit punk label. And I wanted to put my skills to some kind of use toward this label. So I was like, I'm going to talk to him. I'm going to see if I can help him write some stuff for some of his bands. And it just so turned out that the band Fake Surfers had a new album coming out. And I was talking to one of the members about like a press release or a bio or something. And he said, well, Metro Times is actually thinking about profiling us. Why don't you do that? And so he kind of like stole the story from his friend and gave it to me instead. And it was just like serendipity after that. I wrote a couple things about X Records. My third piece was about Sun Ra, and that kind of started the jazz trajectory. I've always been interested in lots of different kinds of music, but sometime in the past, I honestly can't really say why. I just like drifted toward jazz. And then I'm just also interested in Detroit music in particular, and Sun Ra has lots of Detroit connections. So that was fun to work into my piece. And then it just kind of snowballed from there.
Yeah, certainly, I'm sure great, deep, untold stories within the jazz genre too. So plenty of that cultural preservation work to be done, which a lot of people in the chat acknowledging how important that is. So thank you for doing that work. And speaking from the chat, if anyone here watching, listening, has any questions, please put them in the chat. I'd love to include you in this conversation. We do have a couple of those questions already. And this one is another important one when it comes to this cultural preservation. The question comes from Ebony, who asks, when you discover personal/private happenings of the artist's lives, how do you work to preserve the privacy but share the power of their humanness in the story? Great question. Kind of speaks to what can sometimes get lost on the cutting room floor and how you make those decisions as a writer.
Yeah, that's a really great question. I'm not totally like I don't have like a instant reaction to that. It's something I feel like I need to kind of chew on.
Sure.
But as far as one of the things is actually talking to people. So when you are actually talking with someone, then you can get a sense of what they would want to be remembered about them. So there's like an element of engagement with that person that allows you to kind of work with them on what's being remembered. But then if you're looking at people who have passed on, that's kind of different. So yeah, I'm sorry, this is like not a very satisfying answer. That's like a question that I think I could really just.
No, I think that's a great answer, because you're talking about that idea of legacy, and especially with this, aging jazz artist here in Detroit, That's always an important question of how do they want to be seen and what do they hope their legacy is? Is that something that comes up for you sometimes in these conversations?
Totally. And that actually, so like, because a lot of these guys, and I feel a little guilty about this as well, because my personal attraction is to the 70s and to kind of an earlier style, but a lot of the guys continued making music and their style changed throughout the years, and they don't want to be just remembered for that stuff back in the 70s. They want to be known for what they're doing now. So it's really important to continue to highlight people like Wendell Harrison, for example. He is doing stuff to this day. He's performing left and right. He puts out music, but we won't, like, jazz folks kind of tribe is the 70s stuff. That's like what people think of with him, but it's really important to kind of see his through line and where all the stuff that he's continued to do throughout the years, and not just where it started, but where it is now.
Especially we see here in Detroit that legacy is so much education, especially with Wendell, and kind of passing that on in the same way you hope to do with your writing, passing these stories on to the next generation. I want to get another question in from Andrew in the chat, who says, I'm curious how you think about your readership or your audience. Do you write for people already familiar with jazz and Detroit jazz, for jazz musicians, for a broader audience? So how do you ride that line of maybe someone knows everything already about this subject versus a reader who might not know anything about this subject?
So I think for that question, it comes down to the outlet, and that kind of will dictate a little bit about who the audience is. So if it's like a kind of a niche music website, then people will probably be more likely to be aware of some of these things already. But for even like the Metro Times, it's a broad audience there. So for something like that, I would include a little more kind of context and broader information. So that definitely, I think, comes down to the outlet.
Okay. And Ebony had another fun question. I'm curious how you feel about this too. Are you seeing any contrast or comparisons with jazz from the 60s and 70s to the jazz today that's coming from artists like Kamasi Washington, Nubia Garcia, Thundercat, who do kind of seem very rooted in emulating Tribe and Griot Galaxy and some of these things?
Totally. And I would say with Kamasi in particular, that's a big throwback to John Coltrane as well. So I think there's definitely a resurgence in like stylistic influence, and also in kind of like the creative expression of just like pursuing freedom and not being stuck in one idiom. I think a lot of these artists are just really expressive in that way.
Yeah, no doubt. And it means you'll have plenty more stories to tell as time goes on. Anna Gavrilovska, I really want to thank you so much for taking the time to chat with us.
Yeah, it's been a pleasure. Thank you so much, everyone. These have been great questions, and it's been a lot of fun.
And feel free to get more questions into the chat. Towards the end of this conversation, we'll bring Anna and Donovan back together to answer a couple questions as a group, specifically around their Gilda Awards and what those allowed them to do, what those meant for them, and all that. So without further ado, let's keep this salon moving, and we're going to bring our next guest to the table. His name is Donovan Tobert. Donovan, how are you? He is muted right now. Hopefully we can get, I think he's on the phone, because, we're going to find out more about Donovan in a second. There he is. Donovan, welcome to the stage.
Hello, Ryan. How are you, sir?
I'm doing very well. Just to be clear, are you currently in the middle or just wrapping up teaching 7th graders, I believe?
Yeah, you know it, Ryan. I'm just wrapping it up. They actually just dismissed 4 minutes ago. I let them go 5 minutes early so that we could, of course, get our salon rolling and get the ball all the way on the court. So yeah, man, they just left out the class, and now peace and quiet. Peace and quiet.
So you're going to get some cool teacher points for letting them go
Yeah. Oh yeah, man. I've just been, I've been building that up throughout the year. You know what I'm saying? Just trying to be the coolest teacher that I can, man.
So Donovan, we're going to ask you a couple questions here in a bit, but before we get into your video, kind of make a brief introduction of yourself and your practice.
All right. Hello, everyone. My people who are on this call that I know, thank you. My people who I don't know, hello, and I appreciate you all for taking the time to come in and show the appreciation for artistry that we all share and love, respectively. My name is Donovan Tobert. I'm born and raised in Detroit, Michigan. I'm a graduate of Cass Technical High School, class of 2013. I attended Wayne State University, where I received my Bachelor's of Arts in theater, and my focus was acting. And after that, I went back to Wayne State. I got my master's degree in educational leadership. And I've always had a knack for writing, you all. I've been writing since I was about 7 years old. And my Gilda Award was awarded to me through the scope of playwriting. And I wrote a play. It's called This Don't Make You Cool, along with a short story called One Fatal Sip, which is available on Amazon for purchase. And you all, I've been doing art for as long as I can remember. My mom has been my biggest influence. She's on this call as well. And I'm excited to share my story with you all. And like I said before, I appreciate everyone on this call for coming. Thank you so much.
Absolutely. I'm very excited to get deeper into conversation with Donovan here shortly. But in the meantime, let's go ahead and watch his video presentation to learn more about him.
Oh, and I'm sorry, Ryan. Just before we start, this music that you all are about to hear, this is all original.
Okay.
This is my music, you all. And that's it. So the music that you're about to hear, it's all performed by yours truly.
Very cool.
Hello, my name is Donovan Tobert, and this is Gabriel. I am a member of the 2021 cohort. I am a Gilda Award recipient. This video is just going to break down just a few of the things that motivated me along my journey, including this little one right here, and tell you all a little bit about myself. Oh, wait a minute, baby. Also, I got some things coming up, and I'm going to give you some updates on when those things will be here. So stay tuned, and thank y'all for tuning in. You know, this journey actually started for me when I was about 7 years old. I did 2 plays, and I was an actor. All right, so starting out, actually, I didn't know that I was going to be a performer. I didn't know that I was going to be a writer. I didn't know how vast my imagination could reach. But I grew up reading a lot, and stories. The stories that I read, they became other worlds for me, and I would, want to live in these other worlds and create these other worlds. Actually, when I was 7 years old, I took a movie that I saw, Spy Kids 3, and I completely made my own rendition. So I renamed the characters, kind of switched up the plot a little bit, but I used Spy Kids 3 as like my guide, as I would say, and wrote an entire. I want to say movie, but it was a book because I wrote it as a book. And that was something that I loved to do when I was a kid. I loved to write, and that's why it was an honor for me when I won this award for playwriting, because I wrote my first true one-act play when I was a junior in college, and I won the Louise Heck Robbie playwriting competition at Wayne State University, first place. And I was able to see my play produced. I was able to see my play put on stage, and I was able to see my play brought to life, and it was incredible. It was an incredible experience. I had my family there, my friends, and something that I had wrote, something that I had seen in my head first, I get to now see it on stage, and that was honestly one of the best moments as an artist for me. But now, being an artist and being a father, being a brother, being a son, having all these different roles that I have in my life, it's a big responsibility, one that I take very, very seriously. I don't back down from a challenge, and my people that are a part of my life, that have been a part of my journey, they have motivated me, they have inspired me, they have inspired my work. Since I won the award, I've traveled to California. I've been able to work with some very, very nice people, not only on my writing and my scripts, but also on my music as well. And I've been able to travel to Atlanta and work on my music and my writing there as well. I've even been able to publish my book on Amazon. I've been able to get an entire mixtape recorded, and now I'm getting ready to release that. And I did all of that just with $5,000. So that right there within itself shows that just a little bit goes a long, long way. And I appreciate every cent. Focus wasn't always easy. You know, it was one of the toughest lessons I had to learn in my life, how to truly focus and how to apply that focus to the goals that I wanted to accomplish on an everyday basis. And you know, life throws so many distractions at you. And you know, being a young black man growing up, I didn't know what to do sometimes. I didn't always have guidance. You know, I grew up without my father. I only had my mom in my life, so it was incredible to accomplish certain feats. You know, like being a kid in elementary school and getting the principal's award because I got a 4.0, like that was big for me. And in turn, that was big for my mom, and she made it great because she used to award me. And as a child, being rewarded became something that felt good, you know. And as I grew up, I wanted to reward myself. You know, I wanted to push after things or accomplishments that were going to make me feel validated, not only as an artist, as a person, as a son, as a brother. You know, I got my older brother and my younger sister, and you know, they've inspired me as well. I've had so many different people come into my life and truly impact me, and that's where I write from. That's where my music comes from. The experiences that have shaped my whole entire life, that have shaped my mindset, the way that I approach people. It's truly incredible. I'm so blessed, y'all. I cannot say that enough. I give all the glory to God, honestly, because I would not be here without him. I have great friends. I have a great family. I have a great background. I have great support system. You know, and yeah, I just am very appreciative, and I'm looking forward to continuing to grow. I'm looking forward to putting myself in better positions so that I can continue to make the people who have supported me proud. That's honestly what this video is really going to focus on, honestly. The people that have helped me get to where I'm at, I cannot thank you enough. You know, I can't necessarily name everyone, but anyone who knows me knows I'm an appreciative person, and I've grown a lot, and I'm still growing, and I'm not afraid to admit that I still have growth to attain. You know, I still have growth to manage and to convert it into something that allows me to become the person I'm meant to be. I'm still pushing towards my destiny, and I know that until that is fulfilled, I'll never stop. I'll never stop. So, Kresge, y'all push me. Y'all keep pushing me, and y'all motivate me because you believed in me, and I cannot thank you enough. I cannot. The way that I grew up, my mom, she truly raised me to try to be the best that I can be. And once I became a man, I got to a point where you know, it became clear that trying is not going to be enough anymore. You know? Eventually, I had to just do. And that's all I've truly been focused on since I've been able to be blessed with the award that Kresge has awarded me with. And honestly, it's amazing. It feels amazing to do. It feels amazing to get up every day and be goal-oriented, push towards what you know you want to achieve, and just be so clear-minded in the fact that you know what you're capable of. So if it's not making you better and pushing you towards what you know that you want and what you can do, that can make your family better, that can make you better, then honestly it's not worth it. You know what I'm saying? Like, I've truly been able to start weeding out distractions and start focusing strictly on my work. And when I say my work, I mean my work as a person, my work as an artist, my work as a father, anything that I can do to become a better me. I've been doing that work, and that's mentally, spiritually, emotionally, physically, financially, any area that you can cover. I've been able to cover that, and God has been amazing. So I just want to take the time to thank Kresge, thank my mom, thank my family, my brother, my sister, my daughter, her mother, all of my friends, everyone who has made me a better me. And this is not the end. This is just the beginning. And this is a small step for Don and a giant leap for anyone who has supported me along the way. We are going far, and I'm never going to stop pushing. So again, thank you, Kresge. Thank you everyone who has been on my side and who has shown me support in the times that I needed it. And I appreciate everyone who congratulated me on my award and my success. And more to come. All right, we're just getting started. Thank you.
Watch your neck. Never say good riddance. Cause that's what quitters do. They do. Took a bow before the show's over. I thought I was finished too. Made me leave like I overstayed my welcome. I had a string, but therapy, it ain't helping. Nah.
Love it, Donovan. Love it, man. People really getting behind that energy too in the chat. You got people really excited for sure. That was a really, really great video. And you said your mom is here, and obviously very close with your mom. So one thing you wrote in your bio, people can see at Kresge Arts in Detroit, is that you wrote that you grew up in a single parent home and your daily mission is to make a way for your mom to retire early in life. So real quickly, I just got to ask you, like, what has your mom meant for you and your creative practice in terms of supporting the things that you're trying to accomplish?
Man, my mom has been there whether I succeeded, whether I failed, whether I gave up, whether I kept going. My mama been there for me since day one, man. Day one. Me, my brother, and my sister, we would have nothing without her, man. Nothing. It's nothing like a mother's love. Nothing. And she's shown me how to love my daughter because she loves me so much, you know? And yeah, we moved around a lot, you know? We moved about, I'm 27, y'all. We done moved about 15 times. Just to let y'all know, we done moved about 15 times because my mom always wanted the best for us, y'all. She always wanted the best, and she always gave us the best. So she's close, we're close. And all of her work is going to pay off. I will make sure of it, and for me as well. So she just came on right there. I love you, mama. I love you forever. You my baby. I got you. And that's it. That's all I know.
I love it. I love it. Thank you for sharing that. Let's talk a little bit about your practice. I do really want to talk about the idea of being a playwright. You know, you talked about, you know, being a kid and kind of reworking these stories, but sort of a teen or young adult, take me into that moment when you really started realizing theater, acting, and being a playwright as some of the avenues that you personally wanted to explore creatively.
I started acting as I said, man, when I was a kid. So second grade, you know, I'm Martin Luther King reading the I Have a Dream speech, and they gave us a sheet. Okay, so I could have read off the sheet, but I was like, no, I'm about to memorize this. So I memorized the speech, and that right there told me, yo, I already took the extra step. I already took the extra initiative. So this might be something that I end up taking seriously. But it was not until my junior year. You know, I went to Cass Tech and I met Marilyn McCormick.
I was gonna say, I had a feeling.
Man, the Tony Award winning Marilyn McCormick, incomparable. She instilled in me what it truly means to be an actor, to actually take the craft seriously and become paid. And before I got up under her wing, I did not take it as seriously as I do now. It was not my passion. It was just something that I did for fun. And as far as playwriting goes, I wrote my first play, my first full play when I was a junior in college. And that was for a class. So it wasn't even something that, was a necessarily a hobby, but it became more of a hobby once I submitted that play, and the play won the first place in the Louise Heck Robbie playwriting competition that Wayne State hosts every year for their theater program, man. And literally anyone could enter. So I'm thinking, I'm just a normal guy, and I'm going up against graduate actors, graduate playwrights, and I win number one. So that showed me that, maybe this is my calling. This field is something that, I can thrive in. And once those realizations came to light, I never stopped and I never looked back.
And real quickly, just to give context for Marilyn McCormick, won a Tony for as a teacher for an outstanding teacher award, I think in 2016. Obviously, Cass Tech has produced a lot of incredible people, but two of the major ones, Dominique Morisseau, recently became the first Black woman to have two shows running simultaneously on Broadway. And also Michael R. Jackson, a playwright who won a Pulitzer recently for A Strange Loop. So just looking at that thread, Donovan's certainly part of that, of some of the incredible acting, playwright, theater that has come out of Cass Tech. And also going back to what Anna was talking about, how a lot of the jazz community puts so much of their foundation into education. Just kind of some threads here in the salon today. So I wanted to bring that up. And now, Donovan, I'm curious, do you look at, Michael R. Jackson, Jeremy O. Harris, some of these guys that are making waves through playwriting, does it seem, I don't know, more viable than ever? Because I think at certain times you probably say, I want to get into theater or playwriting. And then people are like, are you crazy? Do you want to?
Oh yeah. All the time. People ask me, am I crazy all the time? And I say a little bit, and it's all good. But I also want to shout out DSA, because I went to Detroit School of Arts as well. And I met pretty much my best friend since then, the Akil Alvin, who was on this call as well, who has helped me on my journey as well. And he has been in my corner, man, every step of the way. And seeing these different people who are making it from Cass Tech, and also having my friends who are doing such great things, man, I reached out to Dominique and she replied back to me. She sent me her personal number. I was like, whoa, wait, this is a celebrity. Like, what do you mean? Like, and she said, call me anytime. Anytime you need to talk, anytime you want me to read a play, anything like that. And she was just so down to earth. And that solidified it even more for me. And in my junior year, I was in The Color Purple, and I played Mr. And Shantae Adams. I don't know if anyone on this call has heard of Shantae Adams, but she's doing big things in Hollywood. Was just in a movie with Michael B. Jordan that was directed by Denzel Washington, and I was on the stage with her. So that shows me that I have that inside of me too. It's all about timing and opportunity. And that's all I'm doing right now. I'm taking the time to solidify the opportunities that are in front of me. And Kresge, man, was just a star. And I'm just going to say this for the record. My mom, she thought that, she told me, she said, you got this, son. And I'm like, Mom, like, come on now. They looking at 1,000 people. Like, why am I so special? I didn't necessarily think that we would be here. But the fact that we are, man, it just shows me that this is it. And this is our time. So talking to those people who went to Cass Tech, the alumni, the greats, yeah, man, it definitely helps me and gives me more confidence when I write, for sure.
Absolutely. Yeah, I can see Akil in the chat here. Got a great smile. He's been smiling the whole time and having a blast in his chat. Thanks again to everyone that's hanging out with us and making this chat so much fun. We are getting a lot of questions for you, so I want to make sure that we do bring people in. And this one seems like it's a good timing, because you're kind of talking about what you're excited about in your future. And Angelina said, absolutely love this. And the original music was fire.
Thank you.
Want to know what's next for you. What are you thinking about or working on right now?
So if you all have YouTube, Apple Music, Spotify, anything like that, you can go and listen to the music that I have released. My name is Don, DONJT, the letter J, the letter T, like J like jump, T like Tom. Don, like the leader of the mafia. All right, that's me. All right, Don JT. And I'm working on my first mixtape, you all. I am getting ready to drop this bad boy. I am one more song away. I am one more mix song away from it being complete. So we just have to mix one more song. We almost got it all the way done. These are all original beats, all original lyrics, and just one of those tapes that, you know, it's like old Kanye. You know what I'm saying? Like when Kanye was actually that guy where you listen to him and you like, man, he talking some real. Yeah, that's what I do. That's what I do. So I'm working on my music. I have several opportunities coming up, but because of, you know, NDAs and things like that, I gotta wait until everything's official. But big things popping, you all. If you go on my Facebook, you can also follow me on Facebook at Don JT. You can follow me on Instagram at I Hate Hype. And I post everything on my pages as far as how you can support. And I'm still writing. I actually have the third part of One Fatal Sip coming out in about 3 weeks, you all. Be getting everything situated as far as the cover photo and everything. And then I'll be releasing the third part of that. And yeah, if you all follow me on my social media, then all of the updates will be there. And I really appreciate it if you all check me out.
Very cool. Donovan, you talked about Dominique Morisseau kind of opening up a mentorship or at least a line of communication with you.
Yeah.
Obviously, she's you know, a premier playwright in the country right now, but from Detroit.
Right.
And he's made a big deal about nursing that next generation of talent and staying open to Detroiters that are here. And that's a question that we have in a chat for you, which is how can you open up your talent to become a portal for other Black and brown men to discover theirs?
Yeah, man. I try to impact just off having conversations, like me trying to talk to people. I try to impact them. Now, I don't necessarily have the answers as far as like, how can I, you know, impact other young Black men with my talent? Because honestly, I had a great mom, and then I had great teachers, and that is what led me on my path. I had no idea what I wanted to do. Okay, I went from point A to point B to point Z in a second, and I skipped everything in between. And my mom allowed me to do that and allowed me to grow. So the only thing that I feel like I can do is be a great mentor to anyone that I would be thankful enough to take up under my wing. I teach mostly, I teach all Black and brown children, you all. I am impacting our neighborhood right in the heart, in the prime of our city. So every day, even it's not necessarily even like just my talent, you all. It's just the fact, it's anytime I open my mouth, it's the ability that I have to impact. And I do that with anyone that I come into contact with. So I am doing it through my art. I look to do it through my conversation, through personal anecdotes that I tell people, anything like that, anything that I can pull from so that people can see that at the end of the tunnel, there is still light. You know what I'm saying? That kind of is what my attitude is. So I'm just teaching y'all. I'm teaching anybody anyone who's willing to learn, you know? So those young Black and brown men, it'll be their time as soon as it's my time. God will place us in the right place, and I'll be able to impact, and that is how it'll go. But I am trying to draft certain programs because you all, I'm a humanitarian in a way, a philanthropist, and I want to give back. So I'm trying to draft certain programs, but we have a company called Men Who Invest, and that's exactly what it's called. It's called Men Who Invest, and I do it with three of my other good friends, but we're all African-American men, you all, and we're looking to get a program started where we're also mentoring other young Black men. So I'll be able to use my talents that way and through my business. And when that's going down, y'all follow me on the social media, you all will see the results, I promise.
Very cool, Donovan. I want to bring, we'll bring Anna back into the conversation here. If you want to get ready, Anna, I'll start asking you both similar questions about the Gilda Award itself. And Donovan, I'll start with you because I think a huge theme of chatting with you today has been support systems,
Yeah.
from your mom, your family, to your community, everything in between. So I'm curious, what has the financial support, professional support of the Kresge Arts in Detroit and this Gilda Award, what has that meant for you as an artist? I know you talked a little bit about how you actually used it, but
Right.
I'm asking more, what has that meant for you in terms of notoriety or that support system along those lines?
To be honest, Ryan, Kresge gave me my start, man. Like when I was awarded with the Gilda Award, that was the biggest push I felt like I've ever received, because it was like, wow, I actually, because how many people actually apply for this, right? And somehow, some way, my script, my story made it up to the ranks, and I was able to be awarded for just being myself. You know what I'm saying? So it allowed me to it allowed me to have the funds to travel to California and meet the people that I met, and it allowed me to adopt a way more serious attitude when it comes to my artistry, because it's so many people who say that they do this and they do that, but it's not a lot of people who actually take it seriously. And it's not just about the work, it's about the impact behind the work. And that's what my work does. It impacts. Like when you listen to my music and you actually listen to the lyrics, like I'm leaving an impact through my music. So the Gilda Award was the start that I needed to show that I am the artist that I believe I am. It's not about the money. It's not about anything else except the fact that Kresge believed in me. They believed in my work and they believed in my story, and that allowed me and helped me believe in myself.
Yeah, Donovan, that's certainly been a theme through these artist salons, is sort of the reaffirmation of what you're doing. And yeah, you could go blue in the face trying to explain your art to someone, or that you take it seriously, or what you're working on. But that Kresge stamp certainly be changing, because people say, oh, okay.
Official. You know what I'm saying?
Well, Donovan, thank you so much for taking the time. I really, really appreciate it. Glad you're not a cult leader, because I think we'd all join you right now. You've got great energy and very, very fun to hang out and talk with. So Donovan, thank you so much for taking the time.
You too, man. Thank you, Ryan. And thank you everyone else who took the time to listen to my story, and everyone who's on this call. I see you, and we going places, y'all. I'm telling you, it's happening. Let's get it.
Anna, thank you so much as well. And I want to bring those questions about the Gilda Award itself to you. What has this meant for you personally to receive this award?
Yeah, so I think a huge component for me is the confidence boost. There is like a big, and I mean, it is true that the Metro Times was, when I first got poached at the Metro Times, it's almost like the Kresge Award was like that times 8 times 16. I don't know, like, because that felt very validating to me. Like, okay, this is this paper that I've been reading since I was a kid. Like, it's very, I can't believe I'm being published in it, but it still feels like a hobby. And it's also, my family, we're immigrants. My parents both came here from Macedonia, and it's always been really hard to explain to everyone in my family what I do. And so they still don't really understand it, but to see that I got an award is like very empowering, not just for what I do as an artist, but also for them to see that, like, not that they didn't think I was successful, but my parents were always very supportive, in that they knew that I was never going to be a doctor or a lawyer. I was never going to make them a lot of money. I would love to retire my mom, but I don't think I'll ever be able to. But so winning this award was like a huge thing to be able to share with my family, in terms of validating what I find valuable in life and what I think life is for.
Yeah, I think that's always the big thing for writers, artists, convincing your parents of what you do. No doubt. I think mom still wants me to be a nurse. Anna Gavrilovska, I want to thank you so much for taking the time. Donovan Tobert, thank you so much. This has been an incredible artist salon with Kresge Arts in Detroit and WDET. I'm always blown away by these, and I hope everyone that joined us, you enjoyed your time as well and feel a little more deeply connected to these artists. You can feel deeply connected from this conversation. You can also stay connected with them too, literally, through the information that is just being dropped in the chat now. Their social media channels, websites, things like that. So you can continue supporting them, continue following their journey. Obviously, the Gilda Award is really designed for emerging artists who may be getting started, just finding their feet. So there's a lot more to come from Anna and Donovan, and I'm certainly excited to see what they have next in plan. If you want to rewatch or share this program, which we really hope you do share it, it will be posted on Kresge Arts in Detroit presents art within the next few days. That's Kresge Arts in Detroit presents art within the next few days. You can see that also in the chat. We're going to be doing another one next Friday, same time, Friday, March 11th at 3 o'clock. You can learn more and register for the salon using the link in the chat. So I just want to thank you again for joining us on behalf of WDET and Kresge Arts in Detroit for making this such a meaningful space. We really do appreciate it. And enjoy the rest of your Friday, everybody. Thank you for coming. Take care. Have a good weekend.